Welcome, everyone. My name is Marge Brea, and I've recently joined as the CMO of LeadSpace. I've been a CMO for a pretty long time, for pretty much the last 20 years. And that journey has always been about trying to make sure that we've got the best data, the best odds of creating pipeline, et cetera. And I was lucky enough in the company I was last at to be actually a customer of LeadSpace as well, which is frankly why I joined the company. And so what we're going to be doing today is walking through kind of the 3 best moves you can make to be ready to close out your year strong from a pipeline generation standpoint and or helping deals close better, but also to set yourselves up for very systematic pipeline development, et cetera, over the coming year. So with that, let me introduce my star-powered colleagues. As everybody knows, the folks who always know the best and have the most experience are the folks that are in charge of solution engineering. And so with me today, we have Amish and Alex who are going to help us step through the various topics that we have. And again, we'll be happy to follow up with all of you or any of you as you'd like in the coming days and weeks. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So our first topic is all about unleashing pipeline. And folks, as you think about any of the efforts that we make from a marketing standpoint or a sales standpoint in creating pipeline, the first thing I always ask whenever I join a company is, what's the size of the database? And what's the state of the database? And typically, folks will say, I have to check with someone. Sometimes they'll say, hey, I don't even know who owns it. But bottom line is that is the fundamental asset, as I'm sure many of you are aware of, and probably all too clearly, in terms of if that database is in great shape and has great data, you can do great things with it. If it's not, you've got work to do. So how do you go ahead and unleash pipeline and make this a lifestyle practice? So Amish, what are the 3 things that you see as the most important things that folks should be doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Marge. So to unleash your pipeline, right? I think it really first off starts with optimizing your current and future inbound demand, right? You're spending tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars trying to drive awareness and generate that inbound demand. And too often, qualified demand is slipping through the cracks for a lot of organizations. So being able to shorten your web forms, but also have an automated solution behind the scenes that can provide the data and intelligence you need to really qualify, prioritize, help you effectively route, and then segment those leads effectively is critical to really kind of be competitive in today's day and age. And as you think about that, right, it's also important to think about the rest of your lead sources to ensure that whatever solution you put in place can support all various ways that you're generating demand, not just the online sources. And effectively, within a matter of days, you can really start to see your average lead response times shrink down to minutes, and the effective engagement and conversion rates increase by at least 40% right out of the gate. Secondarily, I think to Marge's point, it's important to put in a strategy to optimize your marketing database, not just clean it once or enrich it once, but really put together a strategy to maintain the quality over time, right? People are switching jobs more than ever now. Promotions and role changes constantly happen, and the company dynamics change, right, through growth, acquisition, mergers. So it's important to really keep on top of what's in your database so you can really start to engage and connect with your buyers in a relevant way in an ongoing basis. And this will really effectively help you increase the effectiveness of your existing sort of marketing database programs, reduce operational inefficiencies to really help you again unleash that pipeline. And then the third thing is, I think we've all seen it many times over. We constantly get targeted with the wrong ads, and the amount of wasted spend on the top of the funnel through various, digital programs, it's ridiculous, to be honest, right? And I think there's just lots of easy ways, using a solution like LeadSpace for you to, with a click of a few buttons, really take control of the segments that you target through your ad spend to ensure you're targeting the right companies and the right people to really increase that the ad spend ROI.
Yeah, and that, I mean, that last bullet is so important, right? Because when you think about the cost per lead in some cases that folks are spending, I mean, it can be enormous, right? And so if you can target that really well, super big advantage. The other thing I comment on is, in some markets, like the company I was at last, which is in the unified communication space, literally, winning or losing a deal or an opportunity would be in the 2 to 3 minutes that came after the opportunity came from the referral channel. So if we weren't there in 2 to 3 minutes, we had a good chance that we would lose that opportunity to a competitor. So that being able to route effectively and do that immediately is so huge. Amish, what are some of the best practices that you've seen
Yeah,
out there in the market?
no, that's a great point on the lead routing, right? I think, we've all seen it, that the likelihood that someone converts diminishes so significantly in a matter of hours, if not minutes, after you start to generate that demand, right? So our best in clients are really able to route and prioritize these leads accurately to the right reps, no matter how complex their sort of territory assignment rules are, within a matter of minutes. Companies like RingCentral come to mind in terms of being able to do that. And then, companies like Microsoft really leverage, the accurate, high quality data we provide down to the person level to really be able to understand their buyers at a level of granularity they didn't have before. So for them, they used to get a ton of demand from various IT professionals, but they really struggled with trying to differentiate, who's a better buyer for their Azure product versus their Power BI. By leveraging our personas within, that first touch point in their nurture strategy, they were able to tailor that content appropriately to the cloud buyers versus the Power BI, and effectively increase their engagement rates by over 90%.
Wow, 90% is a really impressive number. So why don't we go ahead and see the product in action? So Alex, could you let us check out what LeadSpace can do?
Sure thing, let's do it. So as Marge and Amish were mentioning, to unleash your pipeline, LeadSpace gives you access to our proprietary B2B data graph that we've been cultivating for the past decade. That's comprised of over 30 plus different B2B data sources. And in the self-service platform that you're seeing here, you can enrich data using that graph of both companies and people, as well as create segments to deploy to downstream activation channels. So here I'm going to create a segment using firmographic criteria that matches the ideal customer profile that LeadSpace helped us build, as well as leveraging modeling scores for fit to specific products. In this case, we sell a server product and we're picking our A and B accounts, as well as looking at companies that are showing intent for that same product. From here, I'm going to discover the buying committee at these companies. LeadSpace manages a book of 90 plus different personas that everyone are available to every one of our customers and are curated from hundreds of granular socially derived signals such as expertise, specialty, job function, technologies used, among others. And LeadSpace also builds custom personas for our clients so that when our customers want to granularly target for a campaign using both their first and third party data, LeadSpace can help them identify the unique buying teams there. So I'll just select a few here. You have a few other levers to play with, whether you want contact info, how many contacts you want to find at each company. And finally, I'll hit create. And while that loads, I'll use a different example to illustrate the deploy to function. Once you create your segment, it's as easy as deploying to a downstream activation point by just a click of 2 buttons. Here you can see that we can deploy directly to LinkedIn ads for a digital campaign, to your marketing automation tool, Marketo, Eloqua, sales automation with SalesLoft, amongst a whole other host of downstream activation points. And that's it. I mean, driving value into your pipeline is made easy when you have the B2B universe at your fingertips. So with that, I'll pause and pass it back to Marge.
Yeah, no, great, Alex. And guys, this experience with the lead space, segmentation, and enrichment, et cetera, I have to tell you, it's a game changer. When I came into the company, just 6 weeks ago, to be frank, I had not personally used the tool before. I had, a team that was using it at my last company. And when I came in, it was so cool to be able to see immediately a model that was developed, and we'll see this in the third section, and then to be able to go ahead and create new segments based on that model, look at what's surging or not, enrich with the personas, any of that surging data immediately by persona, by account, is frankly a game changer. And you take your TAM all the way down to X number of companies. I have to tell you, it changed. Honestly, it was unbelievable. And so if you haven't seen it like personally in action, check it out. It's going to be amazing for your marketing team for sure. So thanks, Alex, for that. Why don't we move now to the next section, right, which is increased conversions from a sales standpoint. And as you guys know, it's super important for sales and marketing to be on the same page. And whether it's on getting those quick speed to conversion in terms of from lead to opportunity, and then obviously again from opportunity to close. And one of the things, of course, we're going to want to do along the way is up the odds of all of that through first party data. So Amish, why don't you tell us what are the most important things here, and and then we'll also then move into what are the best practices.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's I think it says it right there, right? Aligning sales and marketing. I think organizations have been talking about this for many years over. I spent 6 years at Marketo before. I mean, it was talked about a decade ago, and if not earlier. Companies still struggle to create that alignment. I think one of the main reasons is the two teams aren't in alignment when it comes to their tech and data strategy, right? They're working from different systems. They might even be sourcing the data from different providers. And inherently, it creates this misunderstanding or misalignment because they don't see the customer from the same perspective. So I think that's the sort of the next step in the process to ensure once you get the marketing side of the house in order, do the same with the sales side, right? Have a account data management strategy in place where you have a way to enrich, score, prioritize all the new accounts that are getting created, the existing database, to really shore up that side, and that will create that sort of fundamental alignment you need. Secondarily, it's tapping into the power of that first party data that you have that you're probably not using as well as you could or should, right? So many organizations have created a wealth of first party insights and data through the years of doing business, and it just sits in a silo somewhere, and people just don't even leverage that to their advantage when it comes to segmentation and targeting. And a couple of examples that come to mind, you think about all that money you spend driving awareness. To this day, there's so many companies that struggle to know, is this even a business I care about that hit my website? When they come inbound and that lead converts, are they a customer? If so, what products do they use? If you can't answer those fundamental questions, you're really going to struggle to be customer centric at the end of the day. And we all know it, customer centricity is critical to really trying to meet your buyers where they are today. And the third piece is, once you start to tap into more of that first party data, you have a good strategy or, leveraging the third party data. It's about monitoring that target market, right? Understanding what makes up your total addressable market, who are the key target accounts within those, sort of different segments, and being able to understand where they might be in their buying journey at any given point. Because that timing and context regarding what they might be in market for relative to, the products, solutions, and services you guys sell, it's critical to know that to be able to really optimize your conversions from that standpoint.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I mean, even just envision, right? I'm sure many of you guys have bots that you put on your website and are trying to perhaps use meeting scheduling on there as well. Totally impossible to do a great job of that unless you know if it's a customer, what they might be interested in or not, right? And to get that kind of that trained sequence, et cetera, that would be there, and even driving personalization as you're going through the website, let alone if it's coming in through a phone call or coming through a nurture sequence or some other outreach that might be going directly to the sales team. Very important to go ahead and have this data. So Mish, what are you seeing in terms of kind of the best practices that are out there today?
Yeah, so going back to kind of creating that marketing and sales alignment, I think getting your account data in order from a source you can trust and really rely on is kind of that first step. And companies like Salesforce, global organizations that sell to companies of all sizes, right, really standardized on using our account data as that source of truth for their go-to-market. Companies like Zoom, similar, right, global presence, doing business with arguably even more different types of companies down to the smallest SMB companies in the world, also leverage us for that account data. And they're also using us for that inbound lead data. So that really, again, creates that fundamental alignment you need to ensure that both sides of the org are on the same page at all times.
Yeah, one of the things that I'll mention before I hand it over to Alex is there's some great data that we've had in terms of how do you actually resolve somebody's identity down to the buyer level. Sometimes only having a few pieces of data. If you've got that first party information, because you can do so much, right, associated with filling in who that person is. And one of the things that I didn't mention earlier, right, when Alex was talking about the B2B graph, I mean, hundreds of millions of companies and buyers are in that graph, and the third party side, validated socially about 60%. If you can go ahead and bring that first party data to the table, you can get close to 100% validation on those entities and people. Really amazing when it comes down to fueling what you want to do in your go-to-market process, as well as any of the models you want from a predictive standpoint. So Alex, why don't you show what we've got here and let everybody see what LeadSpace is all about.
All right, let's do it. So, to Amish's point earlier, to increase conversions, you need alignment between your marketing and sales teams. And to help with that, LeadSpace maintains native integrations in sales and marketing platforms. For example, here we have a native Salesforce web app that's hosted in the App Exchange that provides firmographics, demographics, intelligence signals, predictive modeling, all appended to all of your account and person records, along with any first-party data attributes that are relevant to your sales and marketing cycles. Before LeadSpace, most of our customers are used to seeing something like this. It's a list of their target accounts with gaps in the firmographic characteristics about these companies, and really no good way to prioritize how they should be spending their time and effort. After LeadSpace, all of those firmographic gaps are filled in. And not only that, but the accounts are prioritized by their predictive propensity to convert, telling you, are they showing intent in the specific product offerings that you host, or is that intent new? So for example, we'll click one of our A accounts that's showing high intent for our server product. And when you click into an account, you can see all of the first party data that your company brings, including IDs from other platforms, as well as the insights that feed the predictive models that you were just seeing. Signals like install-based technologies, specific signals relevant to intent for each of your products, specialties and expertise. And beyond that, you have the standard firmographics that LeadSpace provides that's powered from our company graph, as well as custom data. Here, our customers will often show relevant first-party attributes. Things like, is this account a customer already? Or how are they engaging with marketing collateral? Beyond that, LeadSpace also provides hierarchy information. So not only are we creating these profiles for your accounts, but we're linking them together so that you know what the hierarchy looks like for an entire organization. And all of this data can be run in batch cadences, daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, or you can enrich it just by hitting LeadSpace's enrich button on demand. And all of this information, it's part of the unified profiles that we're creating for our customers and is available on any CRM or marketing automation platform that our customers' teams rely on.
Yeah, which is terrific. I mean, that LeadSpace enrich button right in the middle of Salesforce is a game changer, right? In terms of empowering the sales team as maybe they're getting ready to do blitzes or any kind of outbound activities. So a big deal. Thanks, Alex.
Sure thing.
Sure. And so now let's go to the final segment, right? So we've now gone ahead and gotten our data in shape, turned it into a lifestyle. We then went ahead and made sure that we have alignment between sales and marketing. Now let's go ahead and scale and optimize by knowing exactly who we're going after and why, and unifying in mass that data that can sometimes come from a ton of disparate sources inside and outside. So Amish, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you see in this area? And I kind of think about this as nirvana, because literally you could go ahead and enrich many different first-party sources, or even think about other third-party things that you'd want to add from a custom standpoint in your own graph to create your models.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the next step after you got kind of that marketing and sales alignment, it's how do you create even more cross-functional alignment across the rest of the org, right? There's still lots of internal first-party data that could be critical to engaging and connecting with your buyers that sits in your ERP system, your data lake, your product usage data sets, and so on and so forth, right? For a lot of the larger organizations we work with, I mean, that's not just one of those systems. It could be, every business unit that operates independently under a parent org, right? How do you unify that so you can really start to do cross-sell, upsell across the different business units themselves, right? And so the next step to getting that account 360 view is really being able to put in together a sort of a approach and framework to ingest and unify all of that internal data with that third-party graph we bring to the table and any other data you might actually need to create that ongoing account 360 understanding, right? That's dynamic, and then it can be activated in real time at the different points you want to engage with your buyers. And it's not just about ingesting and unifying it, it's about creating actionable insights from that unified data, right? That's where the AI and the various algorithms that can be applied by analyzing your historical customer data can help you optimize outcomes that work really well and stay away from spending time and money on things that don't work well, right? So how do you create models to optimize new logo acquisition versus customer retention versus closing bigger deals or what have you? And lastly, it's about applying those models and sort of insights, if you will, at scale to your total addressable market, right? So you can really start to prioritize how you think about penetrating, your market, selling more to your install base and doing it in a systematic, automated way that you can really scale for performance. And then the last step, once you have that all in place, you really have the framework you need to really be able to support the dynamic data needs and the systems and how your business might change over time. You can really start to focus on how do you activate your buying network to really engage your buyers in the most optimal way, wherever they are, in their buying sort of process.
Yeah, in fact, one of the things I'll just share in terms of from past lives about really now, it might be now, about 8 years ago, started working on advanced scoring algorithms in one of the teams that I was a part of. And we actually hired a data science organization to first of all do the regression. And then we went ahead and use that, right, to power a separate scoring engine. Now, what we can do here, and what I experienced over at the last company I was at as a LeadSpace customer, able to look at across many different attributes, right? And you know, what are the things that are very important to either, let's say, new account attraction or churn. You can think about the systems that you would look at from a usage, et cetera, standpoint. You know, if somebody is coming up to your site, can you make an offer that says, hey, you know, can we get, you know, an activation specialist on board, or, you know, fire off an email offer to, you know, either get some help or tips or various things like that, all on the loyalty area. Another example might be, I was remembering, you know, one of the biggest things for loyalty and lifetime value was, did we have in a past company the enterprise architect fully engaged in attending our events and blogging and other things? I would have never seen that had I not had that kind of signal coming in that would look at lifetime value. And then just even looking at, okay, is it a technical installed base technology, right, or other things? Huge when you're trying to put that all together. And of course, if you're in an M&A situation, you're flying blind, right, because you really don't know even what would be the things that would matter across a data set that you're not even familiar with yet. So Amish, who's kind of doing some of the best things out there? And you know, I just gave a few examples from my past, but what do you see?
Yeah, no. So, you know, from our perspective, I mean, companies that we're working with that are really thinking about unifying more of that cross-functional data are really, you know, sort of taking it to that next level, right? Even incorporating service level data, right? Understanding what's happening on the support side versus the sales, and understand having that context is important to figure out how you should try to engage, right? So unifying, adjusting that, creating it on an ongoing basis, but then having the means to access it, right? So you can build the precise segments you need to deliver those dynamic experiences is critical, right? I think that's one of the things that a lot of the strategies historically have failed to achieve, is being able to give marketers the ability to access the data in a self-serve way that allows them to control, you know, again, how they do their job without having to rely on other resources internally, right?
Yeah, totally agreed. Cool. Okay, well, Alex, why don't you show us what we got here?
Sounds good. All right, well, the modern B2B marketing and sales program has all of the relevant first and third party data available, as Amish and Marge were mentioning. And that data syncs from every platform to every platform that your sales and marketing teams are using. When LeadSpace is building what we call your unified graph, our AI is evaluating deterministic and probabilistic signals across all your systems of record. We're looking for the commonalities between these systems, the common records that we will merge together, unify together to create the data entities that we call profiles. So on the left here, you see the disparate data sources in a sample client's environment. They have an Eloqua marketing automation system, Salesforce CRM, transactional data in SAP, third-party license data from LeadSpace and ZoomInfo, as well as a company they just acquired, Marketo, in Salesforce instance. So if I hover over Marketo, you'll see that that Marketo instance has 800,000 records. On the right side, you see what LeadSpace is doing with these profiles. 410,000 of those 800,000 records, what you see in the light pink, are unique to this Marketo. In other words, that record is not common to any one of these other disparate data silos. 360,000 of them, though, are common to at least one other source. So what LeadSpace is doing is taking all of the Marketo marketing event behavior activity information and merging that with whatever other common source LeadSpace finds. So it could be with data within your Salesforce, or third-party data, or data in your Eloqua. And that's really just setting the foundation. You know, fixing your data is the very beginning of the problem, and unifying all of your first and third-party data sets. What's next is finding insights within that data to drive your marketing and sales strategies. And one example of that is ideal customer profile analytics. LeadSpace has a suite of analytics tools, ideal customer profile being one, that essentially helps you find the characteristics of your best customers. It's built using your data joined to LeadSpace company graph. And what we're doing is essentially highlighting the segments where you see high incidence of conversion, which you see in the dark green here. So for us, it could be software and internet companies, companies sized 11 to 50, companies using certain technologies like infrastructure as a service. All of these segments, these specific signals can then be used and are used by our customers to feed the demand gen process that I was showing you earlier, to using these segments to drive the segmentation that you later deploy into your downstream activation platform. All of this data can be sliced and diced by firmographics, first-party data, intelligence that LeadSpace builds for you, and allows our customers to really take control of their sales and marketing motions. Another good example of this is total addressable market analysis, really understanding what is the revenue opportunity in your market. We take firmographic characteristics that you provide, and we match that to LeadSpace's company graph to say, hey, these are all the companies that exist out there that you should be going after. And this, in the same way that ICP is, our customers will use this to determine what specialties or expertise, what industries or size, or even geos that they should be approaching in their segmentation tool. And these are just a few examples of how our customers, after getting their house right, take a strategic approach to demand gen, to sales, and to marketing motions. So finally, I guess, Marge, I'll turn it back over to you to take us home.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. And guys, I have to tell you, being able to slice and dice along those segmentation areas is really cool. You know, again, taking your total TAM, which could be 10,000 accounts, or in the case of LeadSpace, hundreds of thousands of accounts, taking it down to, you know, the exact geo you're going after, looking at the close rates from a historical standpoint of what the model would predict on, you know, what your ideal customer profile is, you know, account fit, you know, et cetera. It's a game changer, right? And then being able to use that to drive your segmentation and campaigns and value propositions and personas, again, out of the box, pretty cool. So, so the big takeaways, everyone, that I hope you got out of this this webcast is, first of all, this is a lifestyle decision. Get your house in order from a data standpoint, and keep it in order with ongoing updates and keeping the data clean. It doesn't have to be a 18-month or 12-month event. I mean, there's super affordable ways to do this. And, and frankly, your sales and marketing teams deserve to get their time right and get the focus right. Make this an ongoing strategy, and then look at health scores and other things like that. Next thing then is make sure that you've got sales and marketing completely aligned around around the opportunities and what are the most important opportunities to go after. This is a big deal, and by having the technology embedded in the ways they work, whether it's directly in Salesforce or as an output of Marketo or LinkedIn, et cetera, big deal, right? And finally, if you can go ahead and then get all of that first party data, from your CRM system all the way to any of the behaviors you have in either your customer support systems, products history or usage that folks have, et cetera, to go ahead and inform what your ideal customer profile or TAM analysis, et cetera, would be, is again a huge focus and frankly a way for you to increase your odds above what your competitors are doing out there. Because if you can acquire customers and keep them better and faster than your competitors, as you know, it's a big deal. So we'd love to go ahead and help you, obviously, in this process. In the next slide, you'll see we've got all of the contact informations. We've got 3 bundles that you may have heard about already, but if not, here's the link there. They're promotional bundles, and I can truly tell you that regardless of your company size, we've got an affordable offering for you to get started and improve your conversion rates, either at the pipeline or the sales level. And if you have any questions, my team, of course, is going to be monitoring marketing at leadspace.com, and we're happy to jump directly on a call or go back and forth and see how we can help you. We'd be delighted to do that. And I can't thank you enough for your time. Thank you.